It happens time and time again after a mass shooting in our country. New calls for gun control measures.
But this time it hits very close to home. There are renewed calls for change after the mass shooting on a Brooklyn subway earlier this week. Joining us this morning, Brooklyn and Queens Congressman and Chair of the House Democratic Caucus, Hakeem Jeffries. Congressman, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us this morning.
Good morning. Great to be on.
You know, I don't like taking it back, but we have to go back to Tuesday. This was horrific. It was a tragedy. But in your eyes, could it have been prevented? Because when you look at the suspect, someone who has a rap sheet, was legally able to buy a gun. We have this conversation often. What is your take on this right now?
Well, again, I'm just thankful for the NYPD, the FBI, all of the law enforcement partners, the first responders, the fire department, who stepped up as they always do during times of need for the people of New York City, and that this particular perpetrator has been caught. But you're correct. Moving forward, we do need to evaluate how to improve public safety in the city of New York and across the country. America has 4% of the world's population, but more than 40% of the world's guns. That means there are more than 300 million guns circulating throughout this country, and many of them far too easily can find themselves in the hands of individuals who subsequently engage in violent crime, break the law, or have mental illness. So we do need to comprehensively evaluate in Congress how we can find a bipartisan solution to improving public safety and reducing gun violence. And I have some ideas, so do many of my colleagues in the New York delegation.
Yeah, take us through those ideas because, you know, Mayor Adams is asking for Congress's help in this. We want to know what are the steps that are being taken to at least, you know, move forward in a direction where you're not going to see suspects with a lengthy rap sheet being able to legally buy guns.
Well, the House of Representatives has consistently, including last year, passed H.R. 8, which is legislation that will establish universal criminal background checks to prevent people with criminal records, as this particular individual had one, didn't have a felony conviction, but had a substantial criminal rap sheet, from being able to lawfully purchase a weapon without a background check, flags being raised, authorities being notified. The Senate has not passed that legislation yet. It has the support of Leader Schumer and others, and it has had bipartisan support in the past, but we got to get it over the 60-vote threshold. Yeah. We also need to strengthen our laws related to illegal gun trafficking, because most of the guns that are used to commit crimes here in New York City, for instance, are not purchased in New York City, weren't manufactured in New York City, and make their way illegally into New York City, often up the iron pipeline from the Deep South and from the neighboring state of Pennsylvania. And so we have to tighten those laws across the country because New York State has stringent laws to deal with gun violence, but other states may not, and that adversely impacts us. Lastly, we finally need to have the head of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, which is the federal agency charged with enforcing our gun laws, confirmed, and we need to give the ATF the resources to stop gun trafficking in its tracks.
Okay, Congressman, you know, you mentioned earlier that the Senate has not passed the law and there's a 60-vote threshold. I feel like this is a conversation that's continuing to happen. Earlier this year, we had the horrific shooting of two of our NYPD's finest, and, you know, this consistent violence with guns. What will make the Senate pass something, a 60-vote threshold? How much longer are we just going to continue to talk? And this talking has been going on for generations.
It's a great question. One of the things I think that can be done, avoiding the 60-vote threshold related to legislation, is to give the ATF the resources necessary to at least slow down the flow of illegal guns into cities like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and other parts of the country that don't manufacture these guns, where you cannot easily purchase a gun lawfully, but are flooded with guns from other states. In terms of the 60-vote threshold, the American people have an opportunity to change the dynamics in the Senate every 2 years. And there's an election that is coming up in November. And I think the question has to be asked, if we want to see a reduction in gun violence, if we don't want to see hero police officers gunned down on the streets, that there are things that can be done, not to halt every instance of gun violence, but to certainly make it less likely. and that perhaps we should start thinking about collectively electing people to the United States Senate who will no longer be an obstacle. 90% of the American people support universal criminal background checks, including a majority of Republicans and a majority of gun owners. It's just a minority of individuals in the Senate who are stopping this progress from taking place.
Yeah, and it's a shame. You know, my father was a police officer. You know, he owned a fire weapon, a firearm rather. And, there are people who are responsible. And that's, I think, what the frustrating part is. We have a right in this country to own a firearm. And it's the people who don't do it properly that make everybody seem bad, and that's not right. And I think that, they're obviously, the onus seems to be on the voters, on us here, tuning in, watching right now. I know that there's also a discussion about ghost guns. Where are we with that?
Yeah, so ghost guns is a new phenomenon. Under the leadership of Mayor Adams, 1,800 guns have already been taken off the streets as a result of increased enforcement during his first few months in office by the NYPD. And that's incredibly important. What is disturbing is that about 10 or 15% of those guns are ghost guns. And this is a new phenomenon that needs to be addressed. President Biden earlier in the week announced new regulations as well as new proposals to deal with the rise of ghost guns, to make sure that we can track them, make sure that we can enforce the law once it is changed to hold people accountable for having these parts, even if they're not constructed into a gun that is subsequently used as a deterrent. And so there are several steps that I think are being proposed and others that will be considered to deal with this rising phenomenon of ghost guns.
Yeah, I mean, I went on the website actually, and I'm surprised to see how easy it is to purchase this. So I totally agree with you. And, we appreciate you chatting with us this morning. Hopefully there can be some stuff done to prevent something like this in the future. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Happy Easter, happy Passover to all of your viewers.
Same to you.
Thank you so much.
Well, that was Brooklyn and Queens Congressman and Chair of the House Democratic Caucus, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. We appreciate you.